opportunity to catch up with you for some time. So, and great to have such a nice representation from Express. James has been overseeing the excellence program now for ACSESS for several years. I know that members have relied on his leadership and expertise in the area of health and safety. James worked in the industry prior to acting as a consultant, so he understands the very unique challenges our members face in this particular area. So I just want a very quick introduction on my part. I have had an opportunity to meet some of you, not all. I work closely with Ted Maximowski, who is now our past president for the association. ACSESS is the only association representing the staffing services industry here in Ontario and across the country. Currently, we are very involved and engaged on a number of issues with Minister McNaughton's office. And it is election day, James, so hopefully we'll get this done and wrapped up quick so that everyone can get out to vote.
Get in line.
I hope that all of you are not necessarily reading all the communications, but seeing some of the updates that we provide. One with respect to the licensing framework that we're working closely with the Ministry of Labor on developing right now. And two, on an upcoming enforcement initiative. And that sort of ties in to some extent to excellent, or it certainly signifies the importance of the excellence program here in Ontario. And if there are any questions, you know, once James has had an opportunity to present, I'd be happy to answer. Express Personnel was one of the founding members of the Safety Groups program. I believe during the entire course of Safety Groups, and now Excellence, Yvonne has been the lead, you know, for the corporate lead for the Express accounts, and has certainly done an outstanding job. Yvonne has been a mentor in the program, very engaged. The transition from Safety Groups, the former prevention initiative, to Excellence has been challenging for some accounts. Express is not the only one. That's one of a few that have experienced, you know, some challenges anytime there's a transition or new program in place. But and I know, James, you'll probably touch on this a little bit later on. The board is looking, I think, on an annual basis to review the current structure of the excellence program and continue to tweak and make improvements. And some of you may have seen that just recently there have been some very positive changes implemented more on the financial side of things. And again, I don't want to take up too much time, but just one more comment I wanted to make, James, is that certainly in the eyes of government, when I meet with Minister McNaughton in his office, they're very well aware of the staffing industry's leadership and active engagement and involvement in
ACSESS.
Yeah, I'm hearing another.
Sanjay, can I suggest that you mute your microphone? Thank you, sir.
And so we, the program is one right now. I believe we have over 40 corporate accounts registered in the program. We'd love for that to continue to grow. Express has always been instrumental, and as I mentioned, with Yvonne's leadership, a key player in the program. That's all. I just wanted to provide sort of the context, the history, the long-standing history of Express. Speakers in the background. Oh, sorry, James, I'll just turn things over to you. I believe you muted me, and that's probably a good thing now, so we can move on.
All right, James, I'll say it. You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Bradley.
Yes, so I muted all, that includes me. And then sorry about that, because I unmuted all, and then that cut you out as well because we were getting some background. So I think we're back on track here. Let me do my screen share. All righty. So hopefully you can see the screen. So there was a couple of objectives to inviting you today. Number one is to give you an overview of the program from your perspective. I'm not sure, there's a lot of changes that have occurred in many of the members, and people change. So I wanted to really, from a basic perspective, give you an understanding of the program. In addition, some of the initiatives based on our lessons learned from year one, for those of you that participated, to try to simplify the process for all your accounts for year two, and also add the what the board is calling the pandemic support program, which is really a financial incentive sort of support program for small business, and in order to provide them some relief from a pandemic perspective by enhancing the rebates. So really trying to cover all those objectives in one presentation, and hopefully give you a better understanding, more comfort to consider rejoining the program. So I'll move right into it with that intro. I do have the chat box open, but please feel welcome to unmute and ask any questions as we're going through. So this is what I want to cover, is kind of the logistics of the program. Some of you that may have been a little bit closer to the process may be familiar with it. Some of you that are not will have an understanding of why certain expectations were placed on folks within your accounts or your branches in the year one that you participated in. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the program, which is really designed around 4 key steps: join, develop, demonstrate, and achieve. Right. So it goes without saying. I know Express has been a supporter of health and safety, trying to be a leader in health and safety. So I don't think I need to convince you on the return on investment from a perspective of investing in health and safety, not only for your full-time staff, but definitely for your placement workers as well. Ultimately, what the board is trying to do here is encourage people to work proactively towards preventing work-related injury, illness, and then recognizing them through a recognition process with badges and publicizing that you're in the program, as well as some rebate and return on that investment. So that's really ultimately what we're trying to do. As probably most of you know, we were with founding members, ACSESS with the safety group program. All other rebate programs are gone, and this is the only rebate program that WSIB has currently. So when we transitioned over, we carried over some of the activities that we did under the old program, like regular group meetings, networking, guidance, and then specific to this program, we try to create some templates and samples. We have the ACSESS resource library, and then myself who can work with you on one-on-one on an as-needed basis. So really that, hopefully with some of the additional support that I'm going to talk about in the different areas, is sort of what we can bring to the table. So I'm going to take you through that journey quickly. So resources, first of all, the WSIB has had originally had a member's guide, which is about 98 pages long. And so what they did is they've taken that guide and created and updated and reworded, simplified the program, aligning it with the 4 steps. So there's now 4 mini guides. The program requirements, for those of you that were in year one, haven't changed. So the program requirements are the same, and the guides are just a new marketing and way of training people in smaller chunks to be able to understand the different program requirements. So these are be available through the library. They're available on the digital tool, if you're familiar with it, on the portal as well under the resources. They're also going to still do a consolidated guide, and they're in the process of creating some videos and webinars to align with the guides as well. So in addition, I
Can
mentioned,
ask a question?
yes, sure.
So those four guides there and resources that are going to be available, do you think they're going to help make the program a little bit easier for us to implement and manage the information that we have to look at and deliver back? Are you confident the program is going to be a little more user friendly?
Well, let's just say that the technical components of the program really haven't changed. The guides are just a simpler way to explain with the requirements. But as I go through the presentation, especially for the small business component and all of the other accounts, the approach to how we work together between ACSESS and the accounts, that's where the difference and the simplification really is going to be. So as each of the steps, as I go through each of the steps, I'll share that initiative with you, that commitment to changing the way we did it from last year, to improve it, to make it simpler and easier for you, based on the feedback that we've got. All right. So hopefully that will, as I go through that, will answer your question as I go through the different steps. So obviously the first step was join. And so many of you who are again in year one know that process. The biggest difference in here is those of you that are small business, that were rated as small business, and 37 of your 41 accounts fall into the small business pilot, which is for 2022. What that really means is that if you join, the WSIB will give you $1,000 to join. And so if you're an ACSESS member, which pretty well all the Express accounts are, your corporate member, the fee, the fee to join will be $825 plus 2% of any rebate that you receive. And the board, just for joining, is going to give you $1,000 to go towards that. So that's the first big change for those of you that are small business. So just for joining for 2022, there is that incentive. They want to cover the cost for that. And again, that's why they called it the pandemic support, because they know a lot of small business were hit by the pandemic. So throughout the program, they're trying to, provide that financial support to encourage firms to join. So this is where the first change occurs for 37 of your 41 accounts that are micro, small, or medium in the WSIB database. So I've already looked that up for those of you that were in the program last year and identified who those folks are. So you'll join ACSESS if you're in your first year. If you haven't participated at all, you have to do an assessment. There's an optional culture survey, and we get you registered on the portal. So there is a WSIB portal that you have to register on and do that assessment. I can't do that for you, or else I would, but we do have now a video instruction and a written instructions on how to do that and basically get yourself onto the portal using the WSIB online services page as well. So any of you that are already accessing WSIB online services, they've added the access to the portal on that main page with all the other services. And I have a screenshot of what that looks like right here. So they've added this. So you'll go on there and you'll register as from your branch, from your account, and you'll be able to access that portal. And it's all done through WSIB online services. And like I said, there's a video and written instructions in order to do that. Then we do the part of the join is to select the topics. So there are 36 topics in the program, and they are basically set up into 3 categories: foundations, intermediate, and advanced. And so there is a topic selection process. These are the level 1 topics. There are 10. And one of the unique topics in the level 1 is what we call the control of hazards topic. And that one is designed to be able to address specific hazards. So any hazard specific to the placements that you do, that you want to create some sort of a control program, we can make that a topic. So that's what this control of hazards topic is designed for. Then there are level 2 topics, and there are some that are suggested that you work on together. So these are the other topics to pick from. There are 17. And then level 3 topics, more advanced. And there are some, again, that are suggested to work on together if you pick them as well. And there are 9 from the level 3 category. So topic selection, this is one area where we had a challenge in year 1. And so the approach for this year is that we set up one meeting, maybe if it takes more than 1, 2, and we all work on the exact same topics. I know we tried that in year 1. And we want to make sure that it is common across the board. And so we will do the topic selection together. We'll have a discussion on topic selection requirements. And then once that's done, you don't need to worry about anything else. I'll go on the portal and I'll do the topic selection for you and upload any topic selection documents on your behalf. So all you need to do is agree together that these are going to be the topics that Express is going to work on for the year. And we'll select those together. Okay. In addition, once the topics are selected, we have to do what we call the PDCA, or the Plan, Do, Check, Act. This is now getting into the develop. Okay. So once we get past the topic selection, we have to develop the evidence story. There is a sample of the evidence story for L36 topics that the WSIB has provided in this document that certainly I will share with you. But what we want to do, once we agree on all the topics, we'll have another meeting for all accounts, and we'll work together and we'll develop the PDCA that everyone's going to follow. So everyone will agree on what we're going to do for plan, for do, for check. We'll populate the Plan, Do, Check, Act. We'll agree on the evidence that each of us are going to collect. We'll write up a template for this that we all agree on and basically change the header. And then I will upload this for you onto the portal. So all we need to do is meet. I will scribe it. We all need to agree on it. You have to put your name, contact, expiry date that you'll get from me when we do the topic selection, your account number, and then we will upload it to the portal as the plan that we are committing to execute for the 365 days for the topics. So again, you won't have to do this on your own. You just have to attend one, if it takes more than one meeting, depending on how many topics we decide on, because we don't have to select 5 if we don't want to do 5. It'll be up to the collective if you want to do 3. I know many of you started with 5 and did 3 in year 1. So if we think that we want to just do 3, then we'll just do 3. So it'll be entirely up to the group to decide.
James, I just had a question. So
Yes.
in regards to this, so what about the evidence, the proof? If we do this all together, are we going to have the same proof, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, so since plan is typically some sort of a policy or procedure, those tend to be corporate documents that I know Yvonne creates. So that one is a give, right? The do, if you have evidence or training or pictures from, of evidence, that's going to be account specific. So that you'll have to give me your attendance sheet. You'll have to give me your pictures or whatever for your particular site. So that can't be common for everybody because it's unique to your site. The check, we'll all agree on how we're going to do the check, but the check, again, the checklist or the survey or the questionnaire or the feedback or whatever it is, all you'll have to do is execute it and then send it to me, right? And then the act is basically making improvements if the check resulted in any gaps. And so if there is an improvement that you identify at your account, that'll be unique to you. If there are no improvements required, then we won't have any, we'll just say, we're following the process, we're complying with the topic requirements, and there's no additional evidence at this time. There's no act or improvements at this time, and then there won't be any evidence for act. All right, so So that's kind of the process that will occur. But I will collect, you will send me your evidence and I will upload it to the portal for you. Because I know, again, that was an issue. I know poor Yvonne, was going crazy and stuff. So that'll be the commitment. And we will set up a timeline for when each of these will be done, right? So as we determine how many topics, we'll say, okay, this topic, here are the timelines for each branch. You're going to do your due, you're going to do your check, and it's due on this date. You send it to me and I will upload it to the portal for you. So basically the idea is to try to get everybody working together on a specific timeline on a per topic basis. So you send me all the evidence, I upload it to the portal for you. The evidence, I'll be requesting a format that you send it in. The format basically is to align with the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So you'll be sending me you probably won't need to send me your plan evidence, because if it's a corporate document, I'll have it and it's the same for everybody. So you will have to send me your due package, your check package, and if needed, your act package. And that's it. I'll upload those packages to the portal for you. I will review them and then I will submit them for validation. And that's the process. Okay.
Awesome.
So I'm trying to take away as much of the kind of hurdles that and feedback. One of the biggest things was I don't have time for my person to sit and learn how to use this portal, James. they've got to sell placements, right? Because they're usually double tasking at the local level, right? And so we're trying to minimize the work that you need to do to implement. You still have to train your temps, your placements. You still have to do some of that implementation work that we can't take away. The only way to do that is if I come out to every single branch and do it for you, and that's not gonna be possible, right? So that part of it. All right. And again, some of you that were in year one, different kinds of evidence that we collect. And again, we'll agree on what that evidence is going to be once we select the topics. Okay.
James, Sarah, I just wanted to ask here. Hi, I'm Tash. I know I skipped the intro. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Sorry.
So can you just list what, I was part of it the last time and it really was just very onerous. So can you just clarify what is not requested of us this time around that we did have to do? So you mentioned learning how to use the portal and
Correct.
uploading. We don't have to do that. What else do we not have to do this time around?
Yeah. So you won't have to worry about the portal. You don't have to worry. Well, you still have to send evidence because we need to upload that, but you don't have to upload it to the portal. All right. We are also going to work all together. So that's going to be a big difference, and agree on what exactly the evidence is going to be. So you're not going to have to guess what do you need to create. It's going to be there for you. This is what is required and a date by which you have to submit it. And it'll be on a per topic basis. So it's a much more structured than say, okay, here are the 5 topics. You got 365 days, go to it. That didn't work. Okay. It didn't work for some of you. Great. Because, some people are very good at setting timelines and action plans and stuff. But, this time around, we want to make sure it's a much more structured approach and on a per topic basis. So we get one topic out of the way, we work on another one. So you're not trying to do 5 at the same time and deciding what do I do when and who or what. We'll agree together on the exact structure and timeline on depending on the topics we select.
Okay, I think
James.
Previously it was kind of, well, maybe you have this, maybe you have that. So now there's kind of less discretion. It's
Right.
more cookie
It's going to be
cutter, do this.
exactly
Okay.
cookie cutter approach. Exactly. If we need to create a specific template for a component of due or a component of check, we'll do that, and you'll all fill it in the same way.
And James,
Yes.
will the evidence have to be as much as in year one? Like 5 samples of this and 5 samples of that? Or will it be 1 sample and you can ask for more if you need it?
Well, that's a good question for Florence. I mean, the validators they're trying to verify they're actually doing the topic, right?
Sure.
So I think we did okay on the evidence. I mean, if it's a training component, you submit it, the training material, right? And they don't necessarily need to see the whole slide deck. If you got like 50 slides, like the intro first 3 or 4 slides to show that you have training material and an attendance sheet, that would be evidence. So, it's hard to anticipate until we get into the topic selection. But yeah, you don't need to go crazy with evidence, but have enough to demonstrate, what the implementation was, right? For plan, it was always the standard procedure, the forms, the guideline, whatever document was created, right? We also used, because a lot of your stuff was electronic, we used screenshots of different things because you don't have a paper, and that's acceptable as long as it demonstrates, again, that you carried out the dues. So that, I don't know if Florence, you have anything to add on that from an evidence perspective?
Yeah, James, I was just going to say, in these meetings that you'll be having with James and
Oops,
there you go. Sorry, I hit mute again. Unmute. You want to pick the best evidence, and the fact that you guys are going to be having very dedicated meetings for just Express, you will pick the best evidence. The first round at desk validation, it is 5 pieces of evidence, and so it could just simply be a policy as one piece, maybe two, an evaluation and something else. So, I know you're going to have discussions with James, and when you're thinking of validation and evidence, you want to pick the best evidence to show that the topic is living and breathing and has been implemented in the workplace. And having those discussions and picking what those documents could be, I think is really going to help the group. And it doesn't have to be a lot, Yvonne. As long as it's the best evidence that shows implementation, I think that would suffice for a validator.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll work together to limit, we don't want to see hundreds of pieces of documentation. No, it's not safety groups. It's not safety groups.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
and
James.
Yes.
This is a new program, and we want it.
Yep. Sorry, I think there was another question.
Yeah, no, it's just a comment, James. I've been one of the more vocal franchisees around the amount of effort for the little return. So I applaud you for simplifying this. I believe Yvonne has quite a challenge to herd the cats and get agreement on what the topics are, but I really think that you guys are onto something really great here. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to hopefully try this approach, and we're going to learn. I mean, the first year was not only a new program, a transition, everybody's referring back to the old legacy program, and then just throw in a pandemic just for good measures, right? So none of that helped. So we're hoping we can recover from that and move forward from it and learn from that as well, right? So as you know, when you submit the evidence, if there are any additional evidence required, we'll look at that together, and we'll help, we'll work individually with any particular account to do that. You have 60 days, and that's only if you have a gap in the desk validation, right? Where we have 60 days. So again, I'll work with you to determine what is required to fill that gap if it happens. Some of you may also get selected for on-site. And so that is another level where basically they go out and do a re-verification, and not necessarily of all the topics. It really depends on the topics. I've had some members that had 5 topics, but then the validator only came out on-site, they did 3. Okay, Usman, did you have a comment?
Yes, thanks, James. I just wanted to add to earlier what Florence was also mentioning around the evidence story. For those that are going to qualify for that small business incentive, we are working on that more simplified
Yes.
evidence template. Did you talk about that? I don't know if
No, I was going to mention it. Yeah,
You were gonna, okay, all
Yeah.
right, so, okay, I jumped again. So
that's
go
okay.
ahead. Okay.
It's a good segue, good segue.
Okay, so yeah, no, I was just gonna mention, so I mean, especially for those smaller businesses, I think Michael brought up a good point about return on investments for smaller businesses. And we understand that there's like, the people who are working on this are also wearing other hats, and this may not be their full-time gig. So we are working on developing this simplified template, and then once that comes out, that's going to be a standard template. And then James and I can work with James on that to make it even more tailored to your group, right? So
Yes.
something that, okay, this is going to be for the for the agencies to use for the ones that are for ones that are less than 100 FTEs, right? So that's how
Yeah.
we're differentiating between
Yeah.
them. So that's another thing that's coming in. So that's also different from earlier. Somebody asked, I think it was Tash who asked
Trying to
about
simplify it.
what's
Yep.
different. So this is the difference, that now it's more simplified.
Yeah.
Evidence for sure. Like, I mean, evidence piece was always there. It was just a little bit of that learning curve where we're trying to figure out what's a good balance that's going to show implementation to the validator. And so I think James has a good idea of that now. And I'm sure he won't require 5 pieces of evidence for every step now.
No.
So that's also gonna be helpful. So I just wanted to kind of make that comment.
All right, great. Yeah. Yeah. So for the small business group, they are working on a simplified template. If it's simpler than the one that we have, we'll convert to it. But until we see it, we're not quite sure exactly what the expectation is going to be. If it is simple, then definitely for small business, we'll be able to use that. So now the moment you've all been waiting for, the achieve, the rebates, both financial and non-financial. So here's the picture for year one and for how the program works now. So for temp agencies, the general program gives you a 1.4 or 2%. It should be or, not 2, per topic completed. For temp agencies, because the board's trying to figure out still how to classify you under the new rate framework, we're still at 1.4. I don't know in 2023 if that's going to change, but we're at 1.4. So that part of it is not an issue for the temp industry. What has changed is that the minimum of 1,000 per topic was capped at 75% of your annual premium. It's 100%. So now you can get back up 100%. And some of your accounts actually were affected like that. They were small enough where the rebate was capped because you reached that 75% of your premium paid in the previous year. So now it's up to 100%. So you can technically get your full premium back. The other thing that guarantees for any of those accounts that don't reach that cap is the minimum. The minimum would be $1,000 per topic, and many of you reach that minimum in year one. And so for every topic you completed, you got $1,000, right? So that's still there. And then the max, which none of you need to worry about, is still, that hasn't changed. In year one, out of 42 accounts, 28 accounts submitted one or more topics. 14 accounts did not submit anything, so you didn't get any money. And collectively, you collected over $61,000 in rebate. And I'm going to show you later on some of the numbers that I crunched for you to give you an idea of how this is going to work. So again, the 1.42% doesn't affect your industry yet until they decide what to do with you. So again, for 2022, you're at 1.4% per topic for topics completed based on the premium paid in the previous year, right? So some of you may be familiar with Compass, and if you're not, then maybe Yvonne can help you look at it. It's available through the WSIB online services. One of the things is Compass, where you can actually look at your account and look at some of this information. Mainly here, we use it to find out what that premium was, if you're interested in how to, what the number looks like for your branch. The predictability, again, you don't have to worry about until they change that 1.4%. So some different calculations here for people that have premiums, the year before. So the premium that they use is total paid December 1st of the year prior to the date the rebate's calculated. So any of you that close out topics or an action plan, as we call it, in 2022, the rebate will be based on your premium paid at the end of December 31st, 2021. Okay. And again, the minimums still apply. So that's one example of calculation. So here's an interesting one where you've got a premium of 7,000. This company was, let's say, a 2% firm. They did 5 topics. Well, they would have only got $700, but because of that top up to the $1,000 minimum, they'll get the 5,000. And that'll affect many of you as well, that as long as you don't reach 100%, once you reach 100%, here, the 5,000 is not 100% of 7,000, so they can get the $5,000 easily, all right? So the small business, which affects, again, many of you because you are classified into this group. When you join, again, that 75% cap is gone, so you can get 100% of your premium. You'll also get $1,000, okay? And the important thing for those of you that this is retroactive, all right? So those of you that participated last year, if you rejoin, you'll get that $1,000, and then the WSIB is going to look at last year's rebate and double it. So whatever you got last year, they're going to double it and give you the difference based on what has already been previously paid out, okay? And that payout is anticipated to be August of this year as well. So you have to have a current active action plan to qualify for the retroactive rebate. So if you want that extra money, you need to rejoin. Otherwise, you're leaving that money on the table, okay? So that is retroactive. Join, get 1,000 for joining, and get in line for the double previous rebate.
So basically you're saying another 60-odd thousand, whatever that number was.
Yeah, I'm going to put up the spreadsheet to give you kind of the big picture. Yeah, so what I just want to share this is the retroactive, right? So this is, so you're going to get double retroactive. Now you join now and you complete an action plan, or we complete our topics by December 31st, which means submission by December 2nd, which is step 2 there, okay? If we can work together, and even if we can do 3 topics and we can get them in for the small business folks, which is basically 37 of the 401(k)(41) accounts, you will also get a double rebate for those topics. So not only retroactive, but moving forward for 2022, let's say we can do 3 topics. It works out to $3,000, $1,000 per topic. You'll get $6,000, right? And so you can see in the table below, there are some good examples of how the double rebate. So anyone that did 5 topics that got $5,000 last year, if we do 5 topics again this year, so not only are you going to get the 5 from last year, okay, because they're going to double what you got last year. If you do 5 this year, you'll get another 10,000 because they're going to double that 5. All right. The only time you max out is on the initial calculation before they do the double, is if you reach 100% of your premium, then they just double where you capped at 100%. And so I think the top row here in the table, the 750 premium, they did 2 topics, right? You can't get more than 100%, so you got your 750 back. But under the small business double rebate, they're going to double that and give you 1,500. So the initial rebate calculation is done, and then whatever that ends up being gets doubled. All right. So let me pull up the what happened last year just to show you. So, so you can see the spreadsheet here. Maybe I'll hide the names just in case. I don't know how much corporate security, you don't want to know what each other. So unless you guys all memorize your account numbers, I've just hidden the names of the companies. So this is what happened last year. And I did a comparison to safety group. So in the 2019 year safety group, what everybody that participated collected. And then I looked at what you collected in year one, the total rebate for the topics that you completed. And you can see many of the topics, many of the accounts did not do 5 topics. I think the average was about 3. So you left money on the table. And that's just, life happens. So you can see that the actual total rebates only came out to about $50,000, where the potential for 5 topics, if everybody did 5, would have been $123,000 plus dollars, right? You can also see on here who are all there's only 4 of you that are large accounts that won't be fill in for that double rebate for the incentive program, but everybody else does. Okay. I've also put in the row for retroactive, so that's what each of you'll get. So that'll be another $49,000. So we're doubling what was collected last year is going to go out. And you have to be an active member, though. If you don't rejoin, you're going to get 0. All right. The small business 22 rebate for 5 topics. If you do 5 topics, I based it on the 2020 premium because that's the only number I have. Collectively, you stand to gain, if you all do 5 topics under the 22 rebate program, you'll stand to gain over $200,000. I just basically doubled the max rebate from the potential max if you do 5 topics. So even if you do 3 and it goes down a little bit, that's still a substantial amount of return collectively. And individually, you can see the $10,000 here represents those of you that reached that threshold of $1,000 per topic, which gave you the 5 times 2 would be $10,000. And you can see back in year one, since you only did 3 topics, you got 3,000, right? So where it calculates to $1,000 per topic, you can see that. So it gives you an idea of the potential and hopefully influence or support a good return on investment, other than being proactive in preventing injury and illness, right?
Hey, James,
Yes.
is there any rationale for the 4 large to be excluded from any opportunity to participate in a much larger rebate?
The rationale is because the financial support program, pandemic support program, they cut it off for small business defined by WSIB as micro, small, and medium on the WSIB database. So when I ran the accounts from the database, those 4 accounts are classified as large in the database, and therefore do not qualify. They're bigger. They're all, as you can see, they're all external. They're bigger branches with much higher premiums, right? So those 4 did not fall into the categorization or micro, small, or medium. Internal account is your office staff only, your full-time office staff. External account is all your placements. And you are the only temp agency that splits your accounts, your actual registered accounts with WSIB by internal and external. I don't, maybe Yvonne knows why that was done. It could be some other financial issue or whatever, but you're the only one that does that. You're the only temp agency that splits and registers 2 separate accounts at a branch with WSIB.
So James, for the 4 accounts that are deemed large, what would change for them, if anything?
From the rebate perspective, nothing.
So they don't get the $1,000 for.
Correct. They
So
don't get the
nothing
double
changes.
and they don't get the 1,000. Correct. Nothing.
And they only get 1.4%, not 2.
Correct. Still the board for 2022 temp agents, the temp industry is at 1.4. Correct.
And of the 2021 premiums.
Correct. That'll be the basis for the 22 calculations. They'll use the December 31st total for 2021 as the number to do the rebate calculation.
James, just to, let's say, take that first line, that account, it's a nice simple $1,000 number.
Correct.
So for rejoining, that office would get an extra $1,000 because that's what they got in 2021. So just for rejoining, they get 1,000.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the rebate. That's just to help you pay the fee to join.
Right, and so we have to pay the fee and then we get this 1,000, that kind of evens out. So it's really not, we're not ahead on it, on that financially.
Well,
right?
basically you're ahead because it doesn't cost you anything to join now.
Okay, got it. So you were up 1,000 for that.
Yep.
Then that's 2021. And we just joined. Now we're going to do some work in 2022. And so for each topic, we're going to get $2,000. Is that right?
Correct. As long as that first calculation of the 1,000 doesn't exceed 100% of your premium, it'll be 1,000. Right?
Okay. And
then they'll double that.
Okay. And then we have an internal and an external, meaning now that can be doubled. There's going to be a little bit extra work because we're doing stuff internally and for our associates, but that would then double the whole thing. So in this line item, it would be really for internal and external, it would be $2,000 to rejoin and $20,000 if we did 5 topics each, internal and external.
Correct, because of the 2 accounts.
So $22,000.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
That's a potential. Now, sometimes the internal may be affected by the 100% rebate back, right? Depending on how many internal staff you have. And so the double won't be calculated at 1,000, right? So it could be that maybe like in that example, it was $750 was your premium because you only had 2 staff, right? So you'll get your 750 back and then they'll double the 750.
Okay, so we really need to check our premium to see what is our upper limit.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And you can see here that, even some of the internal accounts where the eyes are, they did 3 topics. So that was $1,000 per topic. So they got the 3,000. So obviously there's enough premium paid that 5,000 or that 3,000 you got back or the 1,000 per topic did not exceed the premium that you pay. So there's obviously a buffer there. I don't know how much of it, but you got that money because you didn't cap. And in the year 1 program, that was at 75%. Now it's 100%. So you even have a bigger buffer to collect that 1,000 per topic.
Okay.
I have a question, but it's for Yvonne, because Yvonne, I know you helped us to complete our internal. So for 2022, will you do the same and then we'll work with James for our external?
We can, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the idea is to not burden Yvonne. So, we can look at it, but basically, the idea was all internal, external accounts pick the same topics and we work together regardless, right? Because a lot of the times at the branch level, I think it was the same person, working and gathering the stuff, the evidence for internal and external, right? So we're trying to simplify it as much as possible. And the submissions, as long as they have evidence for both, it can be the same submission. And a lot of times it was the same submission, right? Because it had the evidence for both internal and external. So we're trying to simplify, not have specific submissions for internal and specific submissions for external. That just makes it even more complicated, right? So if we can basically have submissions that meet both requirements, then from a validator point of view, when they're looking at internal, they won't focus on anything to do with your external folks or your placement staff. They'll focus on internal. When they're looking at external, they'll focus on external. So that's from a validation point of view. And they can tell because all they do is go in and see the premium. And if it's an account and the premium is like $3,000, they know it's an internal account, right? I'm not sure you could survive on $3,000 premium.
I
if
have
it's
to
an
be
external.
honest, though, the validators did get very confused with that.
Yes, yes.
When they were doing their validation.
Yeah. So yeah, so lesson learned from that, we may put on the, we can add to the action plan, to the template, the PDCA, we can put external account or internal account, right?
And what if
And that
I
way
don't
they-
even know what that means?
Well, we'll explain it to them,
Okay.
all right? I saw a few issues with that. I did, maybe more came to you than me, but in the most part, once, you know, it was clarified with the validator, they were fine with it. The other big change in validation from year one is validators are, especially for small business, they are going to call you before anything, you know, to work with you to see what the issue was, or that instead of automatically issuing an AER or additional evidence. So there's more sort of a proactive push, especially for small business, for validators to clarify directly with you. So you might get a phone call on a particular piece of evidence that maybe needs clarification before marking it additional evidence required. So there is a push to do that, especially for small business.
And James, the premiums that we're checking to identify the upper limit, that is for full year, calendar year 2021.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. I know we're a little over time, but I don't want to cut you off on your questions. So I don't mind, going over, but if any of you have to leave, we are recording it. But I don't want to cut you off. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. That was pretty well the end of the presentation on the most part. These are the rebate schedule hasn't changed. It's quarterly. The badges are the same. So none of that has changed. So that is really the end of the presentation, and we're actually in the Q&A. So if you have any questions, continue to ask.
Hello, thanks for that. When are the meetings going to start? Do you have a plan for
The
that?
first thing we need to do is determine how many of you are going to rejoin and get you joined. So until everybody makes their decision and decides to join, that's the first thing we need to do. Can't start meetings when we don't know who make the decision to join the program or not join, because currently we have 0 Express accounts in the program. Nobody has rejoined year 2.
What's
you
the
can-
process for us joining, James?
Basically to pay the fee to ACSESS to join.
The
And-
portal has to be completed by me because they're all combined under Express Services of Canada in one place. So you mentioned you have to do something on the portal to rejoin, James?
No,
Oh, you
you're still, everyone is basically in the portal. You just don't have an action plan.
Okay,
So the portal, nothing to worry about. It's making the decision and paying the fee to ACSESS.
okay.
And I guess you need to coordinate that because people have to tell you yes or no for
Yeah.
internal and yes or no for external.
So do we want to set a deadline for that?
Well, knowing that time is of the essence, if we want to accomplish the maximum of topics by December 2nd, I would, if it's possible, you should make a decision by the end of next week.
And
By June 10th, everyone should tell Yvonne, yes or no internal, yes or no external. Then we can start collecting
If I
the
put
fees.
you in there, would you be
Okay.
open to going somewhere else?
Oops, somebody's not muted.
Yeah, you need to mute yourself, folks.
So that's going back to the join. So here is the fee right here.
The fully refundable fee, yeah?
Well, let's put it this way. As soon as you join and at least have one topic approved, you'll automatically qualify for the $1,000 if you are a small business, if you're one of the 37. The other 4, I can't help you. So you get your 1,000 back, worst case scenario. And even if you don't complete, I didn't want to say this, but even if you don't complete that topic, if you selected one, you still get to keep the $1,000. And if you were in year 1, you still get your double for year 1. Not that I want you to join just to get the double for year 1 and the 1,000 and then say, okay, forget it, goodbye. But technically, they're not going to chase you for money back, even if you don't complete any topics in year 2. As long as you had an active action plan and you joined, you'll get the retro rebate and the 1,000 for joining. But I hope people just don't join to get the retro rebate and the 1,000 for joining, right? You do stand now to get double rebate on completed topics. So realistically, we may look at 3, and if you're at the 1,000 per topic, that'll be 3,000 times 2, that's $6,000 instead of $3,000.
James, for me, this sounds good. My only struggle is for my office.
Mhm.
It was a lot of work. And I know there's lots of franchisees, owners, managers sitting on here who did the same thing. So I just I would need to see it to see
Well,
exactly how much
if you can describe for me what the lot of work was, I can probably see if that's going to change, because I don't know what you mean by a lot of work, right?
Well, for sure, the portal. I mean, you took
Okay,
that
so the
away.
portal I'm going to look
Yeah, which
after.
is great. Yeah, for sure. I had a lot of issues trying to upload information last year. Yeah,
so-
that was hard.
So the portal we're taking over.
Yeah, I think, that could definitely assist. And I mean, just basically the evidence part, like the do, check, act. But like you said, you would assist us and we can all try to have something similar. So,
Correct.
yeah.
I mean, you're still going to have to do whatever training at the local level. I mean, if it's corporate training and it's done by Yvonne, then everybody's going to have the same training, right? So it really is topic specific on how you do training for your TEPs, your at the placements at the local branch level, and that you would have to do. I mean, there's no way around that.
For sure.
And that is not in the sake of money, but in the sake of the safety for your temp placements, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do, right? And I know you guys are good proponents of safety from year 1 in safety groups, so I don't have to sell you on that. It's just that, you were doing it in safety groups, you were executing topics still. That part really is not that much different. You still had to train your people, you still had to do that. The biggest piece is, just give me a screenshot of the attendance sheet.
Yeah.
Right. So, if that's a lot of work, then I can't, there's nothing right. I still need the
No.
screenshot of the attendance sheet. So,
No, for sure. No.
yeah,
Like Yvonne said, as long as it's not like hundreds of pages,
No.
as Lauren said, then yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe one suggestion, I know we're over, but maybe we just kind of see how much we can bite off. So, we've got a few months, so maybe we take it one topic per month. So one in June, July, August, September, October, and then November to kind of tidy everything up. And, and if it's slow, then we may maybe just end up with one topic. And if we're a little bit more on the ball, then, maybe we'll be at 3 topics or more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, at the branch level. Collectively, we'll decide, what we want to try to achieve. And then whatever each branch actually does on their own pace, that's a personal decision that you would make for your branch, right? And that's what I think what happened in year 1 as well. We did the 5, and if you managed 3, great. Some of you managed 5, some of you only managed 1.
Right.
That's the reality of life, right? Hopefully by simplifying the process, you'll be able to do more than 1.
Okay.
That's the idea.
James, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah, so people, if you
I don't know
deferred,
if you want to
if you
answer it.
deferred,
It says, what happens?
yeah, I see there was a question about deferred topics. If we're all going to select the same topics and they don't happen to be your deferred ones, then, you can still save those. There may be accounts that even if collectively we agreed to do 3, but a particular account wants to do 5, I'm not going to stop you, but you'll be more or less on your own for those extra 2 topics. I'll still do the uploads and all that stuff, but collectively we're going to all work on the same common topics, right? So you can still, anything that was deferred, you can pick it up again. You can still pick it, select it.
James, if we have a newer office and then an office that's been around the block 3 times, how are we going to work on the same topics?
Well, I think when we do our topic selection, we're going to try to strategize. Again, for small business, they're simplifying the topic selection. You don't need rationale, right? It just has to make sense for that small business.
Okay.
And so they took away the rationale requirement for small business. So again, that's 37 accounts. So it's a simpler approach to topic selection. And we just kind of have to, strategically pick, especially because of the tight timeline. There are 10 topics that they've identified for small business to look at. So those are the ones I would put on the table when we meet, and try to see if we can manage to get 3 or 5 from that selection. There may be a common control of hazard topic like last year. Unfortunately, COVID was a common control of hazard topic. So if there is a common control of hazard topic, because of the industries you're serving, then we can even look at that, right? We can look at 2 or 3 control of hazard topics, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a discussion to have at a topic selection meeting.
And James, a question. My 1 franchise is in the large category. So for the external account, I don't see any difference between a large external and a smaller medium external. We're just paying more people, but the safety concerns out in the field are exactly the same. So do we participate with the 37, or do we do this in isolation of the 37?
So, yeah, I mean, you would participate. The only difference for you is going to be, you're not going to get 1,000 for
Right.
joining, and you're not going to get double. Otherwise, there's no reason why you wouldn't be part of the overall group.
Okay.
Because the only impact is on the rebate.
Yeah, I just could never understand the rationale of, putting together a plan that is different for small or a micro or brand new franchise versus, mine, for example. So
Yeah, it's not an issue of that. It's an issue of the actuarial calculation the board does to classify micro, small, and medium. That's really what it comes down to.
gotta love those actuarialists.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And typically, the other definition they apply, which for your industry doesn't make sense, or I don't know, they probably don't use it, is 1 to 99 employees, is the other, for the bigger world of small business, they're using that as well to classify in the database as micro, small, or medium. So they use actuarial, I think, based on historical premiums. And then they also use the 1 to 99. So all I did is I drew from the database, and I verified, and they said, yeah, if the database says micro, small, medium, go for it, James. And I said, okay, thank you very much. So even if external account with a high premium is marked as medium, not my problem, not your problem. They qualify.
And I don't want to burst anybody's bubble here, but even though we're known as an organization, they're still delineating the accounts, correct?
What do you mean by caps?
No, I said we're known as an organization. Express Services of Canada is
Yes.
impact each other. Every account impacts the other account in this org. They're
Well,
dealing with this individually as small, micro, medium, whatever, right?
yeah, I mean, for the purposes of the excellence program, we're looking at each account registered with the board individually.
Okay.
The fact that you're linked together in a mothership account for the excellence program doesn't have any relevance.
Okay.
That may impact other actuarial calculations they do. I have no idea, but not for the excellence program because you have each account is registered individually.
Okay.
And that's why you pay individually as well. And that's why you can get 1,000 per account, right?
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? So hopefully with the small business incentive, this more simplified approach, I'm going to work directly with the accounts. You'll reconsider joining. And I think if it's realistic, if we can find out by June 10th, which is next Friday, if you can let Yvonne know yes or no for your internal and external, we'll have the total. And then we can schedule the topic selection meeting shortly after that, because that's where we got to start.
Yeah. So I sent out, just so you know, James, I should have copied you. I sent out an invite. People need to let me know by the 9th.
Oh,
if
perfect.
they're coming or not.
Yeah. Because we don't have to wait to receive the money to start topic selection. As long as you had got a commitment, basically by saying yes to Yvonne, you're committing to join. You know, the money collection is going to take longer. We're not going to wait for that. We'll set up the topic selection meeting once we have the numbers. All right. Any other questions? I do want to thank you for taking the time and hopefully you find it helpful to go through the program requirements in addition to the support we're trying to add for Express, as well as the small business incentive. So I try to cover it all in one shot, right? All together.
James, I did ask a question, which I don't believe I heard the answer
Let's
to.
see.
We need to understand, how are they getting onto the Access portal to get the guidelines and the safety excellence program information and templates and stuff?
Yeah, the easiest way is I'll just email it out to everybody.
Okay.
That way you don't have to worry I'm trying to simplify your interaction with the portal. The only thing I can't do for you, I think, is anyone who is new, who didn't even do year one, that is joining as brand new. I don't think I can do the assessment for you. So we got to get you onto the portal and complete that assessment.
Catherine and Probir, those would be you two, I believe.
Yeah. So to simplify that, I can schedule a meeting and walk you through it through Teams or Zoom, get you registered, and do the assessment while I watch you do it. Right. That way we know there's no glitches. You're done. It's just a questionnaire. Shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes. And then you're done. All right. So just for from a perspective for, just so you know, Usman, I'm going to, once we get all the accounts, I'll be requesting member access to all of the accounts so I can do the portal work for them. I can log in. So that's how a provider can do the stuff on your behalf is I get access to your account to do the stuff that you normally would do. I can do it.
Yeah, sure, James. So we can
Yeah.
work with the digital team
Yeah.
to figure that out.
I think I
But
just
also-
basically send them a list of accounts and then they
Yeah,
do that.
one of the things I was gonna suggest, and I'm not sure if you were able to do this the last time when you had the group in the program, where did you have somebody come out from the digital team to walk them through at least the basics, right? So I think it'd
Yes.
still be worthwhile, even if you were gonna do it, it'd still be worthwhile for someone to have one session from the digital team to come out and share some resources, at least to have some idea. Because I feel like, you know, we're doing this right now. Yes, we want people to come in, but, you know, in long term, I think it'd be beneficial if slowly,
Mhm.
you know, the members kind of get a hold of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, you can help them out this year. It's going to be, you know, you don't want to put too much burden. The time is tight. But I think it's still a good idea to keep training, right?
Yeah.
And so just, you know, they're pretty open to come out. Like, you know, we have a
Yes.
couple of people there. They're really good with training and they can share some resources. We have videos that they can use. So simple stuff like just if they need a resource, right? Just sign in. They need to know, go to the admin tab and get the resource. If they need to look at an evidence story, if they need to look at like a mini guide, sure, you're going to send it in an email, but I think it's always helpful if they can just get one from the portal because, you know, sometimes you don't track the email.
Yeah.
And we're always uploading new resources too.
Yeah.
So I know you'll be sending out emails to them, but I think it'd be worthwhile. Like that would be
Yeah.
something.
I think it's something we can look at for 2023, but you know, to try to meet these tight timelines, you know, the KISS principle, right? is
Yeah.
going to be key for success. So, we did do a portal review. I think you were in on that meeting where they came on and walked through the portal and stuff. So
The portal, okay.
we did do that in year one, but not everybody was able to attend or all that. So, so for now, we're going to try the simplified approach. If it works, great. If we need to tweak it again in the future, we will, and get feedback from how it works, and move forward from there. So this is kind of the, you know, after brainstorming what we thought might work simpler, since you all work very closely together, it does make sense to all work on the same topics. We just have to agree what those are. And once we get through that hurdle, we can pretty well develop the PDCAs together and then start looking at a timeline for implementation on a per topic basis. It's not as simple. I think somebody mentioned as trying to do a topic per month because there is a requirement between your due and your check to have a little bit of a time lapse. So we do have to strategically work through the topics to make sure that all the checks can be done at a reasonable time after the implementation is complete. So you can't do your internal audit or your check or evaluation of a topic the day after you finished your training on that topic. That's not gonna, it's not gonna fly, right? So you gotta
Right.
wait, you know, a couple, 4 or 6 weeks, you know, then you
But
can
it
go back.
takes
and
21
evaluate.
days to develop a habit. So
Yeah, something like that.
they're in the
so-
habit of the do.
Exactly.
Check
Yeah.
would be easy.
Yes. So we got to watch that because validators will say, oh, you did it too early, right? So that's when we look at our timeline where we have to strategically, you know, put due dates for each topic, strategic to the due date related to the completion of the implementation.
Thanks,
All
Jim. I
right.
think this was very
I think we're,
informative.
yeah. So if there are no other questions, again, you know how to get a hold of me. Yvonne knows how to get a hold of me if you have any questions. So I'll look forward to hearing back from Yvonne on the 10th. We'll have the numbers and then we can schedule a topic selection meeting. So I hope that many of you consider rejoining and thank you again for attending. And I look forward to working with you.
I think
All right. Take care, everybody.